Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sights on Sinnoh, episode 49, as we jump into the middle of Battle Dimension with episodes 29 and 30, part of a two-part special. And fittingly, as we have a two-parter here, I have two co-hosts with me. First of which is Brady. How are you?
Hey, doing well.
And alongside him, we have Greg.
Hello, it is I.
Today we are discussing a very interesting pair of episodes, which, for some context, are technically on the wrong plate or have an incorrect placement on the English version of the series, because in the Japanese version it happens a little earlier compared to this. So, as Brady discovered when trying to find this episode, the numbering doesn't match up across the dub and the sub. But for those of you at home, this is Pokémon Ranger and the Kidnapped Riolu. So, keeping with that tradition, we're also just going to put it in the place the English version has it, just for simplicity, because most English places that are putting these episodes out are just going to keep it like this, because it's they don't want to mess with it too much. It's been 10 years. If they would have fixed it, that would have happened a while ago.
They didn't care.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out the history of why it even happened in the first place. I think it was to coincide with the thing that this is relevant to, which we'll get to in a sec, because I believe Brady hasn't played the Pokemon Ranger games, but Greg has. Is that right?
Yeah, I have.
Nice.
Yeah, I have not.
Cool. Okay. So we're going to get both perspectives on this then, and hopefully have Brady kind of guess what the relevance of everything that happens here is compared to the game itself. So, starting off with part 1, in the middle of the night, chaos breaks loose in an isolated research center as research subject RX-1, a Riolu, escapes with the help of several men and a getaway truck. But the men want to kidnap Riolu, not help it. So Riolu breaks out again and flees into the night. So, off the bat, Brady, what's your reaction to this opening here?
I thought it was pretty cool. I like the explosions. A whole jailbreak idea kind of set it up for me. But then I was quickly, I don't know, maybe not disappointed, but maybe surprised that these people were stealing Riolu from a already stolen place. I guess that doesn't make sense, but yeah.
He was being double kidnapped, basically.
Yes, that is wild. So you know this Riolu special?
We do, right. And were you able to glean that from what Riolu does to break out, or did you kind of figure that out later?
I figured it out later when Brock was talking about it.
Okay. Yeah, I am wondering how many people may know or not know about Aura Sphere being a Lucario exclusive move, basically, in this generation, except for some other Pokemon that learn it through egg move stuff or heart scaling. But yeah, Riolu here is instantly the exclusive Pokemon because it can learn Aura Sphere before it evolves. Now, Aura Sphere. What?
It's just an egg move.
No, Riolu can't learn it as an egg move.
I'm just saying, literally, it's passed down from generation to generation. It's just an egg move, people. This happens a lot.
Yeah, it's sure, Riolu can learn, this Riolu is special because it can learn Aura Sphere. No other Riolu can. But just get a Lucario if you want that. It's still a baby Pokemon at that point. So yeah. I'm not totally convinced that so many people would want to kidnap this Riolu.
Also, did we ever find out who kidnapped it? Whose lab that belonged to?
Oh, in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, we get a flashback, but it doesn't really explain much.
No. It's not explained at all.
Does that kind of hint at your preference, Greg, of maybe just having one kidnapping instead of two?
If you're going to have it kidnapped by a different, like,
Mm-hmm.
at least tell us who they are.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, or tell us like that was supposed to be a good place, so we feel some sense
Mm.
of like conflict about it. But clearly, they
Mhm.
portray it as Riolu's getting out of a bad situation and into another bad situation. But
Yeah.
they never bothered to tell us why that was a bad situation. And the
Right.
fact that the guy that we'll get to it, but like it's madness. Already, I'm like, you aren't explaining, and I know you're not going to explain anything in the hour that we have.
Mhm. To be fair, before you find out, I do like the whole, as Brady described, the jailbreak experience, but it's looking at it later, it's like, why?
That's like the
Like,
first
Why?
30 seconds of it. So it's like
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
that first excitement of like, oh wow, this could be pretty cool. It's like, wait,
Nope.
who were those people to begin
Right.
with? No named organization,
Yeah.
petty
And
criminals. Like I don't know.
so,
Well, they were like a science lab. Like they were
yeah.
running experiments. Okay, who are they? Are they
Mhm.
Team Rocket? Are they are they Team Galactic? Are they
Mhm.
anybody that would tie it to this region and make us care?
Right.
It's the weirdest setup. Like you could have done that setup, kidnapping it from its own home, which would have
Mhm.
been way more traumatic.
Right. It kind of, the thing I'm getting from it though, as we see our heroes run into Riolu, is that supposed to establish how distrustful Riolu is of others. Because it's not only kidnapped once, and then the second time by what it thinks are people who are trying to save it and bring it home. But it's again people just being selfish and trying to take Riolu for themselves, and Riolu's being like, okay, I'm not trusting any of y'all at this point. But yeah, overall it's not the best of just like following this little Riolu's journey, unfortunately. But again, speaking of that encounter between our heroes and Riolu, it's pretty it's a pretty standard, like, oh, we're walking along and we just run into this Riolu here. And everyone's like, oh, it's injured. And Ash, of course, brings out the Pokédex to figure out what's going on. And then he goes up to Riolu and tries to like help it. But before this, before they even see Riolu, we do see a interesting moment for Ash. Do you remember that, Brady?
No.
Ash has an aura moment.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, what was your thought on that when you saw like that weird light change basically for Ash's model?
Well, I've seen Pokemon Journeys, so it kind of clicked like right away. Plus, in the title it says
Oh,
Riolu, so I was like, oh okay, this is just Riolu's thing.
okay, interesting. I haven't seen that in Journeys happen.
Oh,
Yeah, I haven't seen that happen yet in
oops.
Journeys actually. No, that's all good. I've seen Rio.
Spoilers.
I have seen Riolu episodes, but I've actually never seen its aura come into play. So that's interesting for sure.
I thought when it was like in the egg, that's when the aura was into play.
Oh, you're right. That was so long ago. But I think you're right now that you mention it. But here Riolu does use the aura to, of course, just knock back Ash with Aura Spear, and everyone immediately is like, oh shoot, like it has this move that it's not supposed to learn until it's evolved, and it's clearly special. Ash goes over to it again with Pikachu and tries to explain, hey, we're chill, it's all cool, dude. But of course, it still does not trust anyone, and launches another Aura Sphere, only for a cloaked figure to jump down from the trees and whack it away with his forearm. Um,
That was super Dragon Ball Z style.
It was super wild. Like, it is that your coat? Is that your arm? Also, the way
Yeah.
that they sort of just the cartoon levels of danger are really prevalent in this in this particular two period where they're just like, this is the worst, but also you can knock it away with your arm if you know how to hit it, I guess.
Well, and they talked about how Yeah, they talked about how it broke through that truck, and they said it was like reinforced steel, and it just shredded it apart. And then Ash took one to the face and just kind of like fell back and was
I'm
like,
fine.
whatever. Yeah, like just a little scraped up, but not a big deal.
Potentially, it could just be, hey, this Riolu's injured now, so it's not doing it at full power, but it still feels like it should do a lot of damage. If it was able to break through that, and if it's this close range to humans who are not made of steel. Though this episode would lead you to believe otherwise. The mysterious figure then runs off after the Riolu, and everyone's like, well, Riolu needs help, so let's go follow and see what's happening. Team Rocket is, of course, just spying through the whole... Yeah, they're there. They're like,
there.
oh, hey, this is like the one instance where it's like, oh yeah, this is a rare Pokemon for you to grab. That's not just like the Pokemon of the day or Pokemon of the week. So give them that. They don't do anything though, so whatever. Then our heroes catch up to Kellen, and Kellen just like pulls Ash into the bush with him. He's like, chill, you're gonna scare the Riolu, basically. Brock and Don are like, is this your Riolu? Is this wild? And Kellen is just very unclear with his answers and says like, no, it's not wild, but it's far from home.
Also, how Kellen know? Like, they just think, oh yeah, you know a lot about this Riolu, and you're not gonna bother to tell us right now. We're just gonna be like, okay, how do you know it's not wild? And like, that's a thing in the Ranger game. Like, they could have mentioned that he has readings, or he could have mentioned that he was on a mission to get this Riolu back, or any context as to where he came from or how he knows these things.
Right. Instead, we have to wait like 2 or 3 more minutes, and then we finally get this explanation for some reason. And as they are like watching Riolu just chill in a tree, a bunch of goons come out of nowhere. And Brady, you remember who these goons are from when you first saw them?
Hunter J.
Yeah, that truck's pretty iconic, I'll say. It's like
definitely
this weird... I don't even know how to describe it. It's like it looks like a driller car or something.
All their stuff is very militaristic.
True. Right. And I think you mentioned at one point that you thought that Hunter J might be a veteran herself or have some kind of military background because of that. And I can totally see that as well. So they send out Crobat here to hit Riolu with Wing Attack. And poor Riolu just gets knocked out of the tree, like face first, Wing Attack. And Ash is like, no, I'm not standing for this. So he jumps in and tries to interfere. Pikachu's able to kind of like distract the Crobat, but as it dodges the Thunderbolt, Riolu actually jumps in and just like, it's like Aura Sphere, and hits everything, including 2 of the trucks, seemingly like popping the tires. It's kind of what I got, but they don't seem too phased.
They literally start on fire for about 5 seconds and then go out. Like,
yeah,
what?
It's like, what were you doing there?
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be effective, and then it just kind of fizzled out.
Right. It's like, what? Okay. And then they send out more Crobat. At this point, I'm like, why do you have Crobat, the Pokemon that evolves with friendship?
Because they're friends.
But they're bad guys.
Yeah, bad guys have friends.
How dare you? How dare you speak this blasphemy here? It's a trio of these Crobat, and Ash is like, all right, we're going to take him on. And then the hooded figure comes up and is like, I won't let you do that. Revealing underneath his cloak his sick Pokemon Ranger outfit.
Yeah, just like in the games, out now.
Brady, thoughts?
I was very confused on the stuff on his arm and all that. I thought the outfit and everything looked cool, but I didn't really understand what was going on with. I thought that was like a watch or something. I don't know.
Like a really intense Poketch.
Yes.
He reveals that he's wearing the ranger outfit with the batonage stylus, as he says, and activates a capture, which basically has this little Beyblade looking thingy wrap around an area dose as he does some finger motions and captures it. Yeah, Greg?
I wish at any point they just had these Pokemon like at least visible in the background.
Yeah.
Instead of,
Yeah.
like, hard cut to this area dose that is doing what? Like just literally standing there like, sup? What are y'all doing? I'm just here hunting bugs or something. What's with those trucks?
You know, now that you point that out, I'm pretty sure like every Pokemon he does that capture thing on is just chilling there out of nowhere.
Just like it's like, hey, I'm just waiting here in case you need me. No reason. This is not my normal habitat. I just thought I'd stop by because I heard a ranger was around.
Yeah.
Also, my friend Nakata is here. You can't see him right now, but you'll see him in 2 panels.
Right? It's like, oh, this is conveniently revealed at this time now. Because when he uses the stylus, I'm like, oh, he's gonna capture the Crobat, maybe? Like,
which you can't do.
Right.
Yeah, no, he literally is like, oh, off panel, there's an area dose. And off this other panel, there's an Incada. And the area Pikachu can do nothing. It's super effective against these Crobats, can do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
An area dose that literally is just like, I am here. Fires 3 string shots to completely immobilize them immediately. Yeah. And the world's strongest Incada burrows through the earth at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Right, because that's his next capture as the Pokemon Ranger like just starts running and then jumps over the Crobat.
like my device can't reach that far.
Right? How did you see that, Ninkana?
And I just love how the henchmen who are threatening are just like, huh. Should we maybe stop that from happening? Nah. I mean, that flip was pretty cool. And he's got a Beyblade on.
Hey,
I want to see it rip.
That's his strategy. He's like, okay, I'll just distract him with gymnastics, and then that'll give me time to capture all these Pokemon.
So, how many Pokemon can he have, like, captured at a time?
I think the max is, like, 9.
Yeah, you can have a whole platoon following you in that Ranger game.
Yeah.
Jeez, that seems real strong.
Yes. We'll get more on the mechanics as we reveal who this freaking guy is. Also, well, no. We'll have to explain it to Brady because they don't.
We just saw the only things you do in that game.
Well, no, I mean like what else he can do with the captured Pokemon, and we'll explain why that number is like maybe more inflated than it seems, or at least I'll explain why. I think that's the case. But he's effectively taking care of these goons and the Crobat with 2 Pokemon.
I love how all the Crobat falling into a pit means that 100 J's people are just like, well, we're done.
Yeah.
What? They're all in a pit. They can't possibly fly out.
You know what they should have done? They should have had Ariados cover the pit. Just like string shot the whole thing, right?
But he already used Ariados.
True. Okay, so that's basically what I was gonna say. So Brady, after you use the Pokemon, it leaves your party.
Yeah, it's gone. It's like, well, that was fun. You took me over and I did my one action, so peace out. I'm gonna go back to watching this now.
And then you have to find another one if you're like in the games. Oh,
yeah, because they like bounce off screen. They're like, we're gone.
So, do you think that this is going to be kind of how they use HMs in the remakes?
Oh, absolutely. They'll pop in, say hi, and pop right out.
But I wonder if there will be like any reference to the Ranger stuff. Because it seems, when I was watching this, that's like all I could think about was the Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl HM use.
It didn't come to mind, but that's actually an interesting comparison. Though, like Greg said, I don't think they're going to reference Ranger.
They're not going to reference a game that they're not going to remake.
I wish, but they won't. But that is actually very interesting, that the parallels between the two, where you just summon the Pokemon. But in the Ranger games, you do actually have to bring it with you, so it's not as much as like, hey, come over here and do this thing.
And if you didn't get the one you needed from 7 screens ago, you're hauling your butt all the way back to get it.
And you can't use your one that's meant to fly because that means it's gone after you use it.
Yeah.
There's a mission in that game to get 7 Staraptors. Don't get me started. But then Pokemon Ranger comes over to Riolu and pulls out of its bag a little wooden carving of Riolu and explains, "Hey, this is yours, right? The people who sent me after you to get you back wanted me to give this to you." And gives it around and puts it around Riolu's neck, which I was like, "Oh, that's nice. Like that's actually a pretty effective way of like getting to Riolu and at least having it trust you a little bit." And also, I kind of want a little Riolu carving now after seeing that. And then this guy's like, "All right, let's get going." And he starts explaining who he is. His name's Kellen, and everyone introduces themselves to him. Again, just kind of running, I guess, because maybe they are afraid that the goons are going to climb out of this hole, apparently. But they've been staying around for 5 minutes, so who knows? They get to a river, and the Pokemon Ranger Kellen has a super potion, so he tries to treat Riolu's arm, which is still hurt, but isn't able to do much before it kind of just runs away and freaks out and chills by the river, where Kellen again explains, "All right, so this Riolu's been through some trauma. Like, I think he knows that it's been kidnapped twice. Or at least he knows that it broke out of the first prison."
I mean, the implication is that the person that carved the figure hired the Rangers. Like,
right.
They don't bother to show that, right? Like, they don't. They're not gonna. They have to do the Final Fantasy XIV Echo business. This whole scene is like, I know you're trying to make this mysterious, but you're being so obtuse that nothing is landing because it's just weird.
Yeah, like just explain it or like establish it more. Because we're just introduced to.
We're 15 minutes into a half an hour episode.
10 minutes to be exact, but it feels like 15 because
I mean the episode's only 22 minutes long because of commercials and opening and closing. So we're halfway through the episode in essence.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. And at this point is where Ash gets another aura reading basically and sees some of Riolu's memories of it receiving the little carving from its friend back home. So with that, he goes over to Riolu and it's like, "Hey, that's your treasure, right? I know because your aura, I could sense it and it told me that." And everyone is shocked. And Riolu's just like, "Huh?
Huh? I mean, Riolu shocked. We're shocked because why?
Yeah.
Why? Why Ash? Other than that's Ash syndrome. Like, why is the aura suddenly working this way? Why is it Ash? Why is any of this happening? Riolu has the confusion look on its face because that's where everybody is. Like, what is this writing?
So, what they're trying to show here, but not explaining, is Ash has been kind of shown in a past movie, the Lucario Mystery of Mew movie, to be very sensitive to auras and have a very strong one himself. But here it just seems like random moments of him being an empath. And it doesn't like recall this because they don't like to talk about the movies within the show itself.
And they often don't reference the movies at all in the show itself. Like, the movies are their own universe. So, like, the fact that they're bringing this in and they just refuse to bring it up is just the weirdest thing. And it's like, okay, so why is Ash suddenly a super empath? Because nobody else gets it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no reason at this point for Riolu to have picked Ash as the go-to guy.
Like, even if they were to mention or like a brief flashback about the movie, wouldn't that be marketing for their movie? If for people who haven't seen it, like, oh, that's cool. This gimmick has kind of happened before. Let's watch that movie too.
Maybe, but I feel like they would want to promote the most recent one, and that one was like 2 movies ago. They promoted because that was the movie they used during the Hoenn Games, basically, to promote Sinnoh with the debut of Lucario in there, and everyone's like, "Oh, is Lucario legendary and all that?" So now they're in Sinnoh. They're like, "No, forget that. Like, watch the other ones." Like the most recent one at this time is probably the Giratina movie with Shaman. And that kind of leads me to the idea that given all the music and like cinematic atmosphere of this opening, it feels like this two-parter was like a mini movie that was supposed to happen. And that might be why they're taking more liberties with being like, oh yeah, we've established this for Ash in a past movie, so we can just do it here and people will get it, right? Because that's the only explanation I have really for like the link.
They did nothing. They did nothing to set this up. It's just weird.
It is. And kind of taking away from this moment, not really explaining it, we get a call on Kellen's phone from another ranger with blue hair on it, and Ash is like, oh hey, what's up, girl? I know you.
Hey! And Don's super excited. A girl!
Yeah!
And Brock is super excited. A girl! Everybody's super excited.
Right, because Ash and Brock have met this ranger before, twice actually, in the Battle Frontier days. So it's cool that we see this character return, and Brady, because I'm pretty sure you like, again, as someone who's never played the games, you're like, what is happening here?
Yeah, no idea.
Fair.
Valid.
I was like, I don't even know who this is. Am I supposed to know who this is?
So the first games of the Pokemon Ranger series were just called Pokemon Ranger. And that character that we're seeing here is the female avatar for that game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so we're kind of establishing, oh, there's a connection and bigger universe here. And then Kellen is the male avatar for the second games in the series, which are Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia. And the whole Batonage styler thing, the fact that he has it like on his wrist, is also a new thing they introduced for those games. So there's a lot of really cool references in that aspect of it. And yeah, her name is Solana, the female ranger, and she's like, yeah, I'm here riding with Officer Jenny to rendezvous with you guys, basically, which seems to happen almost every Pokemon Ranger episode, or Pokemon Hunter J episode. Brock pleads to be captured, but Krogan just knocks him out and makes that capture incomplete. So they just kind of spend this time catching up with Solana, I guess, on Kellen's
like, hey, what's the important part of this mission? Like, hey, you're a girl. You have cute hair. I remember you. This is so cool. Hey, you know what? Ash is really cool and helpful. You should keep him by. Also, he's an empath and a telepath. And Riolu immediately trust him for no reason. So, Plot Convenience Theater will catch up with you because we didn't catch the guy that we were looking for. So, we're out of the picture for a while. Have fun.
Right. So
I'm gonna be with Officer Jenny, looking for clues.
Right, and that's like the meanwhile. What's happening is they're trying to find the client that Hunter J is getting the Riolu to. Like we're like 2/3 through the episode. Like what? Hunter J's massive ship does cross over the mountains and starts like flying over them. The goons give her.
It's wild. How does it run?
Oh yeah. Hey, it's like a Star Wars thing, basically.
That's in space. There's no gravity in space.
They have to get from the planet to space. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and they have big rockets that do it, and they light up.
Do they?
There's like nothing on this ship. There's no propellers. It is literally a giant Spirit of Halloween warehouse floating through the sky for no reason and no discernible propulsion. It's just there.
Just magnets or something.
I was just saying
magnets or something, because we don't know how those work.
I swear there's
That's
like
right.
I think there's like heat drawings or something on the side. Like it seems like there's something propelling it. But speaking of being propelled, we cut to our heroes again who are on a boat in the river being pulled by Weasel and Piplup. Put Piplup in the front and Weasel in the back. What are you doing? Like, Weasel has the tail propeller thingy. Like, oh, anyway. So, while on this ship, or on this boat, because I know Greg
On
loves the boat episodes.
the literally ricketiest boat that has ever existed. Like, what are you doing? And also, why are you just going out into the middle of the boat with no protection?
Yeah.
Like, you're just in a boat in
Yeah.
a wood janky boat.
Right? It's like, how did we get here? Like, we were, what? Like, we've been on land the whole time. Why do you need to go in water now? It probably seems safer also. If someone's looking for you, like, they're gonna immediately know where you're going if you're on the boat because they just follow the water.
Also, they have flying Pokemon. You are
Yeah.
literally in the middle
Yeah.
of a river with no way out. Like, we are not good on water, especially in a janky boat. Why are
And-
you in the boat?
Right.
I think this
And you
is
have
where
two of
the
your
saying
Pokemon.
"a sitting duck" comes from.
Yeah. And you have two Pokemon, your two best Pokemon, pulling you. Piplup will save you if you let Piplup shine. Instead, you put a rope around it and said, drag us through the river. Also, the river has an incredibly strong current.
No,
Why do you
suddenly,
need these
not
two?
yet, but suddenly it does. And as they're going through the river, Sharpedo just tears through the hull of the boat, like immediately snapping it in half. Everyone falls in the water except Kellen and Riolu. And they're like, 100J found us, I guess. Well, because they see the Sharpedo, and then she, like, flies in front of them, and the trucks come up on the side, so it's like, oh, shoot, they're surrounded. And then we get Floatzel just, jumping out of the river, and Kellen's like, oh, this is my time. Good thing I didn't fall in the water. Capture on. And this is how we get something for them to not drown, because that's pretty much all this Floatzel does. Like, he doesn't use it to fight the Sharpedo. He doesn't, like, have it get in the way of something, but it's just a weird capture for them. Like, oh, we need a third Pokemon for us to ride on. And as they start trying to get away, Sharpedo attacks, so again, they're like, they can't really do much, except get tossed around. But then when they come the third time, Pikachu hits it with a Thunderbolt, and this is like, alright, this is our time, let's get away, and run straight into 100J and Hyper Beam.
This anime loves Hyper Beam. One of the worst moves in the game. And they're like, Hyper Beam, Hyper Beam, Hyper Beam, Hyper Beam, Hyper Beam, everybody. Everybody has Hyper Beam. Blow the world up with Hyper Beam. None of them have to rest because also they constantly miss, just like in the games. So they're just firing Hyper Beams to be like cool, but never hit anybody, because if they did, their Pokemon would have to rest and reset.
Hey, it's a pro strat. Can you blame them if that's the logic? They're like, if we miss, we can just keep going. And they try to counter another Hyper Beam from Salamence with Bubble Beam, Thunderbolt, all that stuff. And that just causes another huge explosion. Everyone gets tossed around. And Riolu loses its little charm bag with, like, the little statue inside. As 100J tries to petrify it, basically. So the Riolu's like, oh shoot, I lost my thing, I gotta go. It's like, bye fam, I gotta go get my little statue thing. And Ash is like, I'm going after it, and Brock conveniently gets, like, separated from Ash by falling rocks. Brady, what are your thoughts on this whole sequence here?
I'm trying not to judge the Riolu too much, but like, I feel like you could have just let that wooden piece go, because you already know that these people are going to protect you, and getting back to your owner is probably more important than having something from the owner.
Yeah, it does seem like it could have been like a character growth moment there with Riolu realizing the importance of not being all about the worldly objects you have. But let me put it this way, Brady. What if it's one of your amiibo that you get separated from and starts floating down the river?
Yeah, Brady.
Oh man, I mean, I do have Monster Hunter amiibos, so I guess I like those, but I mean, I get it.
Mhm.
I think that they could have done something where the Riolu was more like forced to go down that way instead of like chose to separate.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that would be a bit better. It definitely makes the stakes a little more concise, being like, oh no, it's the fact that it got separated, but Riolu's cooperating. It's not like making the job harder for everyone, which it seems like it is in this case, as it goes after its little carving. And then, of course, as every river does in anime, we head towards a waterfall, and Riolu starts drowning they um, as they follow alongside with it. Pikachu's like, there's Riolu! Like, conveniently telling Ash and Weasel. And then Weasel dives under with Ash in a cool moment and is able to grab the Riolu who's slowly falling unconscious underwater. Greg Brady, does Ash know CPR?
No. Are you kidding? It's Ash.
When?
Ash probably learned CPR in season 1, but since his memory gets reset between each region, he's forgotten them skills.
You don't need
Did we learn
CPR when
nothing
you
from
have a
Dr.
Pikachu.
Brock?
Pikachu should just thunderbolt them back to life.
Yeah, electroshock, defib it.
That's that. They should really use that more. I feel like they've been squandering Pikachu's mobile refibrillator usage. But as Riolu drifts to sleep, we get the flashback finally of where this little statue came from, and it looks like back in its home, it was training to use Aurasphere, and then this old gentleman is like by a tree and is like, "Hey, I made this for you." And Riolu's like, "Oh, cute, it's nice." And then we see the scientists from the beginning of the episode show up with like a Drowsy and two guys who are dressed like in SWAT uniforms, basically, come up to them and be like, "Hey, who are you?" And the scientist is like, "Hand over Riolu." "No, I mean RX-1. I'm like, what? Like, that doesn't mean anything to them.
What? Like, also, who are you?
Yeah,
Where did you come
right?
from?
Like, at least give us that. This is like the one chance we get to learn, but no. And the human is like, "Do you know who this Riolu is? It's part of the royal family." And they're like, "Yeah, of course. That's why we want it." And Drowsy starts to attack, and we just get a heartbreaking scene of this guy pushing Riolu away and saying, "Run, Riolu!" Uh, so Riolu didn't run. Like, that's what we're getting here, right? Like, it was just immediately captured. Like, there wasn't a big sacrificial moment. It was just like,
Yeah. But also, okay. So, okay.
hey, yeah.
Go in, Greg.
If
Get it.
if it's a generational hand me down Aurasphere thing, why is it having to train to learn Aurasphere? Is it that it can learn it through training? Then it's not special. It's that whole montage. I'm like, what is it doing? It's like it's not even aim. It'd be more interesting if it was like trying to do the aim thing and it was like breeding off course. But no, it's not even producing the move. And it doesn't produce the move before it gets kidnapped.
At least as far as we see, yeah.
Then were the scientists right? And they really did do a big favor to RX-1? Whoever these scientists are, you don't tell us. What are you doing?
I think Riolu might already know the move, and this is more of like martial arts, like just practicing the spar, because Kellen does know that it can learn Aurasphere.
Well, they assume. Because it's from a long line of Riolu that are supposed to be bred to learn Aurasphere, but they didn't bother to show it.
Right. I'm like, what's, give me the history of this place. Like, where is this? And as Riolu wakes up, Ash is like, hey, hope you're okay. I got you this, your little wooden figure thing. And Rielu's a lot more trusting now of Ash with this. But Pikachu, with its sensitive ears, like perks up and it's like, oh, 100J's over there. And they just start running. And like, run away. You're running like parallel to them. What are you doing? The goons are like, hey, we're gonna go after them and we won't mess up this time. And 100J is like, wait. Haha, evil smile. We cut to Team Rocket, who is nearby, apparently trying to dig a hole.
I mean, literally, they make it sound like for the last 7 hours,
Yeah,
Team Rocket has dug every hole in existence in this entire forest because they're like, we have multiple holes for multiple purposes.
Mm-hmm. And they're very on board this plan, apparently, to catch Hunter J, until the plan goes up in flames, you might say, as the forest around them literally just catches on fire, and they're like, oh crap, we're gonna burn, everyone jump in the hole. So their hole does become useful, just not for the way they thought. Brady, what's your thought on this wildfire?
Hunter J is ruthless. It was sad seeing all those Pokemon just running out from the fire.
Mm-hmm.
She needs to be stopped.
Cut to the air, and we're like, what's happening? And it's Hunter J just using flamethrower on the forest, but it looks dark. Like watching all these Pokemon run away. Smoke is like filling the air. Ash is completely surrounded by fire also. And as he like seems to be getting through it, 100J stops right in front of him and lights a fire in his path, telling Ash like, "Hey, like give over the Riolu," because they've met like 3 times at this point. Might be the most direct confrontation I think we've seen though between Ash and Hunter J. Unless you remember another one, Brady, since I know you've been I think on every Hunter J episode.
Yeah, I can't remember if there's like direct confrontation or I know when they stormed her ship, there was maybe a little bit when Meowth was in there.
Oh, true.
But this is more of like a one-on-one type thing, even though the Ranger's there. But oh wait, the Ranger's not there at this point.
Correct.
So yeah, it was more like one-on-one.
Exactly. Yeah, and at this point, when 100J attacks, Ash is like, "Everyone dodge!" Instead of having like Buizel use Water Pulse or something, which bugged me a bit. But this is where we end the episode with a dramatic forest ablaze, which I'm sure Greg is going to question in a second. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts as we leave this episode on a burning note?
I mean, she's not very serious about. I mean, really, like you could just wreck Ash's business. Just you have a position, just burn him to pieces. Instead, you decided to light the entire forest on fire.
Yeah. Why does she do that?
I mean, the again, the unstated thing is to create a place to literally make it impossible for Riolu to get away.
Right.
Like cut off all paths, which is smart, and then burn everybody to a crisp.
Yeah. Honestly, it's like, as Brady said, it's ruthless, but I feel like she's actually thinking this through, which I can't say for most of the villains that we see in the Pokemon anime.
I think some of that just shows like she's willing to go to extreme measures to secure her bounty.
Right. Yeah. We get another look at her character's determination, basically, to the job and the mission that she's been assigned. But yeah, I think we're gonna hold off on ratings. We can do a part 1, part 2 rating later if we want, but it might be better to do it as a whole. So let's jump into the second part here, which is Pokemon Ranger and the Kidnapped Riolu Part 2. And
yeah, where's the pun in this episode title?
Thankfully gone. Thankfully, they're just naming it what it is.
That's a question for you, Brady. What would the pun be?
Oh, I'm not that good at those.
It would be something with like capture because it's like a ranger or something. Yeah, as like we cut to the next episode, they're trying to run away. Hunter J is able to basically shoot Riolu from behind with her petrification thing, and is turned.
Her
Turns it into
copperification.
chocolate.
Yeah, it's like what is
No!
it? Because it's a shell.
Uh-huh.
It's clearly a shell, and it's a breathable shell,
Mhm.
but it's also coppery. Clearly chocolate.
Yes.
The chocolate Riolu is now immobilized. So she sends in one of her goons as Ash picks up the charm that it dropped. And it's like, I will let you get away with this. And Jay's like, Hybrid Beam, like, what? Well, I'm not going to talk to you. I have my prize now. Again, it starts chasing Ash with flamethrower to make sure he burns alive in this forest. And we get a cool shot, honestly, of her visor as she looks into the fire. And again, we see what happened last episode, which is all the Pokemon are fleeing the forest, and our heroes, the rest of our heroes who are with Kellen, are like trying to keep it all calm. And conveniently, there were 3 Blastoise here. So Kellen's like, "Hey, lend me your power," and goes to capture all 3 of them. And with their combined efforts, is able to put an end to the forest fire using Rain Dance.
So
Yeah.
I liked the way that they like cleared up the forest fire with Rain Dance. Like I didn't think about that. I thought that was pretty cool. But were the Blastoise just standing there before they got captured?
Yeah, they're just like, hey, our home is burning, and we have these giant water cannons on our back.
Yeah.
But I literally don't know what to do with them. I couldn't tell you what they're for. I just evolved one day and I got cannons on my back, and I certainly have no idea why. Certainly could not be used, for the thing that I'm strong against, fire.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm just gonna stand here with all of these grass Pokemon and be like, I don't know, I don't know what you want me to do.
A little dance, of course.
Like, and also, what puts out fires real fast? Direct water damage from a giant cannon.
Brady, in case this wasn't clear, which I'm sure it wasn't, this is actually a specific use for Blastoise in the Pokemon Ranger games.
Oh, I just thought of the trading card game.
Oh, wait, what happened to the trading card game?
I think it's like Rain Dish or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Where you can like accelerate water energies because of Blastoise ability. But
interesting.
But yeah, I did not pick up on the whole Pokemon Ranger thing. But it's just weird. Like, what are Blastoise doing in Sinnoh?
Right.
Can you catch a Squirtle or anyone in that line?
No, they're just in the forest too. Why are they in the forest?
Yeah. Okay.
Where
are you in the river?
From? Why aren't you? Or did they come? Because they're all standing by the river. Did they just come out of the river and be like, "Ooh, dude,
they're like, hey,
the forest is on fire. We're not going to help."
They're just gonna stare at it.
Did you know your forest is on fire? It looks real bad.
Did you call the firefighters already? No?
Hey,
all right.
There's a Squirtle squad somewhere. They're good at putting out fires. Not us, though. I don't know how to use water.
Oh, yeah. The ranger had to teach him Rain Dance off screen, actually. He, caught them, and they're like, oh, shoot, you don't know the move. Okay, it's okay. We'll get through this. I'll teach you. But speaking of fire, we are treated to figuring out what the heck happened to Ash, as we see a spot of dirt kind of soak into the ground a bit, and then a Chimchar just climb on out of there, bursting through with Dig. And Ash and Pikachu are right behind them. And he's like, oh, thanks, Chimchar. Like, you really saved us back there with your Dig.
Also, the picture they use for Chimchar, he's completely stationary.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, they didn't correct his head size because his head looks like a bubble. It's just giant, and it's like they stopped animating and said, "Well, he just needs to stand there."
All right.
It's this giant bobble-headed Chimchar. So distracting.
I was like, why is its forehead so big? And then Ash conveniently is right next to the Hunter J mobile as they are boarding it with the captured Riolu, of course. So he slides on down and is able to just sneak aboard like every time we've seen him do this, basically. The first time, and I think even the second time, they like hold on to the bottom of the cars.
Yes.
And just ride that inside to get in undetected. But here he just walks aboard.
Yeah, he just walks on like yoink.
To be fair, though, we see what's going on in a second. But the Ranger, Brock, and Dawn are chasing after this plane, and they're like, "Oh no, it's gone. We can't do anything." And Kellen just kind of stares silently behind it. And Jay is having a conversation with her client, who's like, "Oh my gosh, it's great! You caught the chocolate Riolu. It's all mine now. I can't wait."
Well, no. First, make sure that it's alive, please.
True.
Use your magic dial to lower the process.
To like, it's a dimmer switch for the chocolatiness. So, as she lowers it, we are able to see Riolu's head move around, confused, and just growl. And they're like, "Oh yes, it's definitely the right one." Like, what? How can you tell? But he's like, "Yeah, that's good enough for me. I'll go ahead and get the Riolu." And just as the call ends, Ash charges in, and Riolu's trying to like move its neck to look at Ash, but Hunter J is like, "I knew you were on board," and just sends out Drapion, who immediately just grabs Ash and is like, "Oh my god, like this kid's gonna get sliced in half right now." But luckily, Pikachu is able to interfere and get it off. But Jay reveals that's like,
Hey,
yeah,
Ash kicked it in the eye.
Oh, true.
Yeah, well, they just attack this thing's eyes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hardcore.
I mean, this is the smartest thing he's done this whole episode, to be fair. Go for the weak spot. And Jay's like, "I let you on board because I wanted to punish you." And Drapion isn't the punishment, it's what she does right here, apparently. Which is open a hole in the floor and just drop these two into nothing.
Why is there a hole in the floor of your fridge?
Right.
And how is it exactly
Yeah.
where Ash is?
Okay,
But
I can explain.
Also, why is there a hole straight to the outside of the bridge of your flying ship?
I can explain, don't worry. So, whenever Jay needs to get out quickly because she's chasing someone, she jumps in that hole and lets Salamence out, and she rides that. There you go. Easy. Next question.
Okay, my next question.
Why is there a hole in the bridge?
I just told you. So with it in
Why
the
not
air,
have a door? Why not open the windows that are literally everywhere? Why have you ever seen how poorly holes hold up? Those things will crack. Everybody's walking on. How many Hunter J people have plummeted to their death?
Okay.
And she's like, "Well, Crobat couldn't carry him, so who else is gonna work for me?
Brady.
I got health insurance and holes all over my bridge."
Brady, you want to tell Greg what happened the first episode with Hunter J?
Oh, when she just dropped like the container, with people in it, like just to their death. It was her own people.
She literally sectioned off part of her ship and just dropped it midair because it had Ash and all these other people on it, and she like they're all gonna die. Like they're literally just falling, and the only thing that saves them is Gardevoir teleporting all of them out. So yeah, she probably drops people through there all the time.
I mean, why would you work? Why? Is the pay that good?
Probably.
Benefits are great.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, so my next question is, if you infiltrate the enemy's aircraft, you know you're outnumbered. Why
Right.
would you go there and announce yourself?
Yeah.
Like, you didn't even try a surprise attack.
I mean, to be fair, for Ash, that was a surprise attack. Popping up and screaming at people. It's the one thing he
True.
knows how to do.
And as Ash is plummeting to his death, he's holding Pikachu in a kind of warm moment until a Staraptor plucks him from the air. And of course, it's Kellen to the rescue.
This is it, buddy. I think this is really it, Pikachu. We've fallen 1,000 times. Team Rocket, we're not made out of rubber like Team Rocket. We are really, literally gonna die this time.
Yeah. Pretty much. And Brady, do you remember how I mentioned Staraptor earlier?
Yes.
So Staraptor is how you literally use Fly in Shadows of Almia. Which is why we see Kellen using that here to rescue Ash. Where this Staraptor came from, we'll never know.
Hanging out with the Ariados.
He's probably just standing around somewhere, not doing anything.
Just perched there waiting. Like, hey, do you want to capture me? I got nothing to do today.
I freed my calendar. And
I laid all my Starly eggs. We're good. And then everyone groups up back together, and they're like, "Oh no, we lost Riolu. It's all going downhill." And again, Solana and Officer Jenny have failed because they lost the client again. So now they have lost both their leads on where the heck Riolu is. So they're like, well, they're gonna meet clearly, so we need to find where that's gonna happen. And Ash is like staring intensely out in the meadow, shouting for Riolu as he tries to connect with it. So we take a look back at the ship, and Hunter J seems to like look at Riolu. Like there's a moment where she's like, "Huh?" and looks at him. I'm like, can she sense that like Riolu's aura is trying to get through the Ash here?
Yeah, that was a strange scene. Luckily, it was pretty quick.
Right. She just stares at it more, and we cut away. But Ash is kind of giving in at this point until he like focuses more. He focuses harder than he has before, and is able to actually connect with Riolu and kind of sees where it's going. Kind of to Greg's point, which I wasn't totally on board with. He's conscious in there because he's able to see where all this is happening.
Yeah, I'm completely conscious. Also, like, apparently the aura is directional as well as mental based. And it's not like it's always shown like it's a flash, except clearly Ash can be like, oh no, that light bulb came from over there.
Right.
Are you warm or cold?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a radius, basically. So they run off in that direction, and then we get the funniest scene as everyone is on Dodrio riding off to the rendezvous point with the client and Hunter J, and I'm like, this is great. Like they just found this herd of Dodrio, captured them all, and they're like, all right, let's go.
That was good. I liked watching all three of them run. And you could see like the two heads on the side would go down and the middle one would go up. And then the middle one would go down and the two sides or the two heads on the side would go up. It's a very interesting animation.
Yeah. And to answer your question before you ask, I'm pretty sure Dodrio is not available in Sinnoh. But in Almia, this is again how you run around and get places quickly, is by riding a Dodrio. So that's the reference there. As they get to the spot and land, we see Riolu still there, and Ash can sense as we get closer that they are approaching Riolu's location. So yeah, again, it's just like radius, basically. Like the closer you are, the stronger you feel it. Here they meet the client who gets out of their car, and again is with all these people from the beginning of the episode. And as they're about to make the exchange, Ash just blows their advantage by being like, Riolu! Shouting from the cliffs. And
Again,
everyone,
subtlety.
right? Like, what's your plan here? Clearly they have no plan as everyone's like, well, like, I'm not giving you this Riolu, so Ash sends out Staravia to use Quick Attack, which I'm like, you should have sent this out a while ago, and just knocks Riolu to the ground out of the client's hands. They all come charging down in their trio, and Ash, Hunter J's goons are like, what do we do? What do we do? And she's like, hey, we finished. We gave them the prize, so let's just get out of here.
Yeah, she's like, see ya.
Bye.
We got paid. I don't care if you lose it after that.
Exactly. Like, that. Yeah, you better have insurance because I'm not doing anything here, buddy. This time the client's goons send out their Pokemon, which you saw before. Of course, it's a Golem that knows Hyper Beam and knocks them after the trio. Knocks only Ash, actually. Everyone else is fine.
Everybody's like, kill Ash. Hyper Beam Ash. Because they go right for Ash. And the Dodrio's like, well, I'm out. Bye.
Right. He's like, well, Ash will be the human shield. It's all fine. He's got plot armor. And then Hunter J just starts taking off. So it's a big wind that's coming from the ship, basically. Staravia again kind of goes in for the client's rock and just slashes the wheels with its wing. So not too bad of a tactic from Ash's part, I'll say. Everyone sends out their Pokemon again, so we get like a Golem, Tyranitar, Nidoking, Rhyhorn, Graveler. Basically, they're all from the Viridian City Gym, is what I'm getting here. Yep. Right? And then we get the client's Fearow coming out, and he just grabs onto it and uses Fly just to get away, basically. And then finally, we get Solana and Jenny.
Finally show up.
After like 14 minutes basically into this episode. Brainy, what do you think of the debut of the OG Pokemon Ranger here?
Really wasn't anything special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's pretty much it there. Brock's like, hey, everyone, like, go Ash, chase after them. So they go ahead and do that.
What I did like in that scene, though, was Dawn brought out like 3 or 4 of her Pokemon to go fight. Because a lot of times it's like they only choose one Pokemon and it's a life or death situation. And they're like, oh, well, we got to stick to the one Pokemon rule, even though my opponents aren't.
Yeah, like she just has her hands full of Pokeballs and it's great. Like, oh man, this is going to be a harsh battle. And she just sends out all of them.
No effect. They are useless.
Hey, what do you expect? She's got Pachirisu. And they're all ground type.
You have
mostly rock
ice
type.
Beam.
the rock and ground, okay. But yeah,
and then cut to panel 7. There's a Trapinch for no reason.
Yeah.
Where did this Trapinch come from?
The Trapinch was probably the worst one out of all the Pokemon that got captured.
It's just like boink. And way to pick literally the strongest Trapinch that has ever existed. Because this Rock Tomb not only somehow seals them all off, but scares them into not doing any of the jumping air explosions they were doing.
Right.
Like you can. Oh, we're surrounded by rock.
Why are you blasting out of this? Like you were just fighting a second ago. Then we cut to Ash and Kellen, who are of course chasing the Fearow along the canyon. So Kellen has Dodrio kind of wall run basically, and then jump onto the Fearow's back and just peck right into its neck, causing it to collapse basically, and the client to just fall on the floor, separated from Riolu, but he quickly grabs it and just jumps into a cave. I thought that was pretty brutal from Kellen's part, just like, let me kamikaze this Fearow with my Dodrio and drill peck it.
Yep.
That was probably like
Desperate
one of the
times.
best scenes in these episodes.
Yeah, I liked it for sure. I was like, geez, Kellen's getting serious here. As they chase this guy into the freaking cave, they just leave the Dodrio for some reason. Like, the one advantage they have to catching up, and this guy sends out Aggron to block the main like path that they were on. Conveniently, I was surprised you guys said the Trappage was the most like guilty of this. We get the Dawn fan just strolling through the cave behind them.
Oh yeah.
That one at least makes sense. Whereas the Trapinch was just sitting there in the middle of this huge battle. It's like,
fair.
what are you doing?
The Dawn fan is captured, and Ketlin's like, all right, use rollout, and it breaks through the rocks here. But when they get to the other side, they see that there's 3 paths, or 4 paths actually, and they're all blocked off by the rocks. So now it's up to Ash to figure out what's going on here and where is our poor little Riolu. The battle, okay, this is before the Rock Tomb happens with the Trapinch. I kind of like this whole battle sequence actually. We get like flamethrower on flamethrower. Through the smoke, we get Krogan just brick breaking the Rhyhorn. Little fun moments like this, but it is all undercut by the fact that this freaking Trapinch like does what they couldn't basically.
Yeah. It's a good battle up until they pull out the not even in the like just out of frame Trapinch.
Yeah.
On an orange background.
Yeah.
Go. It's
right.
like a static picture.
It's just like a JPEG of this Trapinch standing there. That Solana captures in the middle of a sandstorm, nonetheless. Like it doesn't burrow out of the ground, nothing. It's just there. Like at least make it a Flygon or something. Like Onyx, I don't know. Like have Onyx like wrap around them. There you go. And again, back in the cave, Kellen and Ash are like, oh, he's trying to buy time. That's why he sealed off all these exits. But with the power of Aura, Ash is able to determine which way he went. So again, Donphan uses rollout to break through, and they charge on through, surprising the client who's like, why? How did you know I was here? And
Also,
Ash is like,
they broke the one-time rule.
Right, they did it twice, and Donphan's still with them as they exit the cave.
It's like, nah, that's not okay, fine. You're not bothering to keep your own logic, sure.
Yeah. This guy's lost it as like, they caught up with me again. And he uses it for a third time as Donphan uses Horn Attack on Aggron, who's using like Double Edge. And this Aggron just gets knocked back. Riolu falls down, and Ash runs over to free it from its chocolatey status.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yay, we got Riolu back. And again, encore as we get another Hyper Beam from Aggron.
Another Hyper Beam.
Riolu, however, is able to intercept it with Aura Sphere, and Pikachu hits it with a Volt Tackle. So Pikachu did something this episode. As Aggron just falls on the client and like crushes all his bones, right? Like this guy's just not gonna walk ever again.
Oh yeah, he's done.
Yeah, it's over. It was a one pricey Riolu. Officer Jenny has captured all the goons back at the crime scene, and everyone's like, "Hey, you did great!" Like they all tell their Pokemon, "You did a good job." But Trapinch saved the day, and we're not gonna say that, but it did. Hunter J gets a note of like the next mission, so she's not able to see that. She just makes what do you call roadkill in the air? Like sky kill? Basically just runs right through Team Rocket, who are floating right in front of her in their balloon.
What did they think they were going to do? They're in a hot air balloon against this militaristic aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
This moment was the greatest moment of these 2 episodes. This moment of Hunter J turning invisible and then ramming into them at full speed was the greatest moment of these 2 episodes. It was so stupid and so hilarious, and it's just like we're gonna go invisible. We're still here though.
I did
Yeah.
like watching the Meowth face just squish until it exploded.
It was so funny.
It was
Instead of
great.
just
So
like
funny.
blasting off out of nowhere, it was they did that part well.
Right. It was just brutal and also nonchalant at the same time. Well, clearly, like, upsetting Team Rocket. It was like, no, this was our moment. We were going to show you, but, like, no one even notices them. So it's perfect. And then as the sun sets, Riolu's reunited with its owner. Ash gives it back its little statue thingy. And it's like, yay, I'm happy. And Riolu's like, inadvertently telling Ash he's happy or thanks, actually, through its aura, though it looks unsure itself if that's what it said. So it's like, oh yeah, sure. And that's the episode there, as everyone just kind of awkwardly smiles at each other. And they're like, we foiled Hunter Chase plan, which is not true. She still got paid. She literally said that.
Yeah. She got out. Great. She got to burn a forest down.
Yeah.
Got all of her money.
She wins. She's literally the winner here. And that's where we wrap up the episode. So that was part 2, again, episode 30 of Battle Dimension. Brady, let's start with you. What would you rate this two-parter as a whole?
Well, first, I was kind of thinking that maybe the old dude would have like died off in his sleep, like peacefully, and then Riolu wouldn't have a kingdom to go back to, and he could go or they could go with Ash, because they had that connection. It was like, wow, this is special,
Right.
So maybe in a future season of Diamond and Pearl, he gets the Riolu. I don't know, but
I was
overall,
gonna say, oh, sorry. One more thing, Brady. I do
Yeah.
remember when I first told you about this episode. Your thoughts were, maybe you're about to go into this, but that this was the Riolu that we see with Ash and Journeys.
because Riolu and Journeys comes from an egg.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought. Okay. For some reason, I thought you were like, oh, this is. You were asking at some point that like.
Oh.
This
No, I'm just wondering if like maybe later in the Diamond and Pearl, if they're like reunited and they become trainer in Pokemon.
Okay. And Ash just gets another Riolu in Journeys and like abandons this one. That'd be funny.
I mean, he has like 30 Tauros, so why not?
Fair. True.
But yeah, I think overall I'd give this and it's so hard to rate these episodes. Like I'd say a 7. I enjoyed it. I think it could have been a lot better, but I enjoyed it compared to some of the other episodes I've had to watch for this.
Fair. Greg, how about you?
Like what's my rating for both, or do you want like the whole thing combined?
Do both combined first, and then if you do have an individual rating for one, or would rate one higher, you can also say that.
I mean, I think it's a solid 5.
Hmm.
It's very heavily reliant on selling Ranger games, and so they make some wild choices, and they just don't explain anything.
Yeah.
Like they just don't take the time to set things up well. But
Mm-hmm.
the plot at least moves along. Like they fit a lot of plot into these 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And they kept it pretty tight. Like there's not a lot of wasted time. There's
Right.
a lot of weird choices, but not a lot of wasted time. So overall, it's like a very average episode.
Mm-hmm.
I would give the second part a 6 and the first part a 4. Because they
How
never
come?
do explain who the first kidnappers are. They never come up.
Yeah. I think I would rate the second one higher too, but like not by much. I think overall I'd give it a 6, and the first part I would give like a 6 by itself, and then a 6.5 for the second part. Mostly just because there was some nice action in there when it did last. But it's just weird because I mentioned so many times there's all these references,
Yeah.
but you only get them if you play the games. Like, there's no way. And like, they don't really explain how a ranger works, what they do. Like, we have seen 2 other episodes with a past ranger that are not about this like criminal organization and a grand theft Pokemon going on. It's just a weird introduction for anyone, I think, who hasn't seen those and hasn't played the games, and now is like, oh, okay, like that's it. Like, there isn't much to glean from this if you don't have that firsthand experience yourself. This is an interesting pair of episodes because, as I mentioned before, they're not in the correct place on the English version because they changed the order for some reason. In the English version, it actually takes place between them arriving in Pastoria and then the next day having a gym battle, so it clearly doesn't go there. Like, of all the places, they just chose the weirdest spot for it. So it happens sometime between Veilstone and Pastoria City for our heroes. I personally now, as a fan, wish they had gone more into like what the Ranger games are about and like what makes them special instead of these kind of, oh, Pokemon's conveniently here, I'll capture it and then sort of use it. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't show how there's Pokemon specialized for the different usage or situation that you need. And the one thing that I really like from the Ranger games as well is that you can use captured Pokemon as assists to catch other harder Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
By like spreading grass to slow it down or like paralyzing it and stuff like that. And they don't really go into that, which is kind of
But I mean,
unfortunate.
this is also one of the few times where you really feel the fact that the anime for the American market during this era is an afterthought. Because they wouldn't have these like Ranger was way more popular in Japan. These were way more written for Japan. So people wouldn't need this fill in.
Yeah.
And it doesn't translate.
Right.
Like it's just they didn't need to do it. And the American translation team was shoestring budget. And it was just like just do it as is. Like they're just it's so obvious that there wasn't money in it. And there wasn't even a lot of money because you can tell by all the animation errors. Like Chimchar's giant head and the fact that the Pokemon they catch them are just literally standing in solid fields of color.
Right.
Like this whole era just suffers from they just were not willing to put money into it.
This is also the only pair of episodes that has all the music from the Japanese version. They actually don't replace it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is also the last time we see Pokemon Rangers in the anime.
Yep.
This is the second to last game. There's one more game after this that's called Guardian Signs. And they don't really reference it at all. I think there's like an animated short on its own. But it's never something that Ash comes into contact with. It's just frustrating because like you mentioned, Greg, the animation for all the Ranger stuff seems like it was like we're just like, oh yeah, we need to add this in also because we never really show this at any point. So my question is, should the Ranger have been here, or should have this been its own Hunter J episode?
I think it's good to have the Ranger in it, but I do agree that they could have explained a lot more.
I
think the only question I have is, do the Pokemon Ranger games stand the test of time?
I was planning on checking out my copy because I still have it there. And I kind of don't want to because it does tear up your DS screen. Since you use
like
your
the mechanic is really rough.
Uh-huh.
It is really rough on the 3DS. It is really rough to do in physicality.
Right.
And about halfway through the game, you are really overdoing it.
Yeah. Because you're just pushing into the screen in circles constantly. And they did improve it in the second one, I'll say, because the first one was obnoxious.
Yep.
You had to like keep a consistent circle going, and the end game, I'm literally still there 10 years later. And I'm like, I haven't started the file over because I know I have to complete it in order to get the Manaphy egg. But I don't know when I'm ever gonna do that. I do wish we had a Ranger game on the Switch, though. I think it would be really cool and also less hard on the screen if they modernize the mechanics a bit. And
Then you'd only be able to play it in handheld.
well, that's the thing. My imagination for how that would work is that you could use it like how you collect star bits in Mario Galaxy, by using like wrapping circles around the screen with motion controls, and that would be more like the stylus that you see Rangers use in the show. So
Okay.
I think it would be really cool. Would it like work necessarily? I don't know, but I was like, oh my god, that would be so cool to use the Joy-Con in that fashion. And like, give me another game that requires Joy-Con besides Let's Go, and like actually make it more immersive. But also some context, Brady. This whole thing with Riolu and Aura Sphere is actually a DLC mission in the games.
This whole thing, like you could
Yeah,
saving a Riolu that's trying to get captured.
basically, you're trying to reunite it with its trainer, and it's
Yep.
like a guy named Kyle, so you know it's already kind of rough. But he basically gets kidnapped, and you have to help Kyle get Riolu back. As he like is running around getting captured and all this. But what you get at the end is this special Riolu, which you can transfer over into other games, and it's the only way you can get a Riolu with Aura Sphere and a ton of other good egg moves like Blaze Kick and Bullet Punch. The way you get this is actually by connecting to the internet if you have the game and downloading this special mission, which is one of several
Yeah.
missions if I can recall. I missed it, unfortunately. I don't know if Greg was able to actually get this Riolu.
I think so. I remember
Nice, okay.
doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember much about it after that.
Yeah.
Really.
It's a cool concept, I will say. The appeal to me as a kid is like that's so much work to get a Bullet Punch, Blaze Kick, and whatever
Yeah.
its fourth move was. So I'm like, heck yeah, I'd love to have that. But unfortunately, if you weren't there and you weren't online, you can't get that mission anymore. But yeah, that's the history of why we even got this, and it's the special Aura Sphere Riolu that you can transfer into any of the Gen 4 games. And the last move is Drain. Oh, it's actually Aura Sphere, Bullet Punch, Drain Punch, and Shadow Claw, actually. And the OT is Kyle. So there you go. That's the reference there. Brady, would you rate one or the other of the episodes higher?
Oh yeah, 2's definitely better.
Okay. How come?
One was mainly like setup that didn't even set things up well.
Yeah, I kind of like the first half, but when you start looking at it too closely, it's just like, why? Like, who did this?
Yeah.
I just wish the second half Riolu wasn't petrified like 90% of the episode.
Yep.
Just some rough stuff there, but yeah. Greg, I don't know if you actually answered the question. What do you think about having Hunter J in this episode as well?
I mean, it's fine, right? Like Hunter J adds a sense of danger
Mm-hmm.
that they muddy by all the other unexplained things.
Yeah.
Like having Hunter J be there is good because you really need somebody who is really being a threat to heighten the tension of this.
Right.
But everything else was so muddy. It was like,
Mhm.
okay, who kidnapped it the first time? So then this guy who knew it was called RX-1, how did he know? Because if it was his
Mm-hmm.
and he was the one in charge of the scientists, then why did Hunter J break it out to bring it to him. So how did he know it was called RX-1?
Yeah. You know what? I feels like what they could have done is set that whole thing up, and the guy who kidnaps him is actually the person running the facility, and he does it in a ploy to get Riolu to trust him.
Yeah.
That would have been more interesting.
Just a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah, it just ends up being more
Like Hunter
convoluted.
J is a good character, right? It's like their most interesting villain that they have.
Mhm.
Although how this villain has how 10-year-olds are like, haha, we're gonna go up against this murderer is
Ash is
beyond
very
me.
adamant, yeah.
But like I think Hunter J is a good villainous foil that
Mm.
is very muted for a kid's show.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. She almost kills Ash here, like very deliberately. And it's not cartoony at all. Like he's like you feel the weight of him falling.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of cool. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for us this week. Again, question of the week: what do you think about the episode? And would you like take out Hunter J or the Pokemon Ranger, or keep them both in there? Let us know in the comments below. And once again, thank you, Brady and Greg, for coming on today and capturing this episode with me.
My pleasure. Glad to be here and watch the chaos.
I was waiting for Greg to say something about that capture comment you just made, but
Nah, we're gonna blow past that one.
Brady, what you did ask us what our thoughts were on the games and how they hold up. Does this interest you at all in playing them?
yeah, actually, I was interested until you said it like destroys your DS screen.
Yeah,
So,
real rough on the DS.
That's fair.
I think I'll pass that up, but maybe I'll watch a playthrough of it on YouTube or something.
Yeah, honestly, the second one is way better. Like,
Yeah.
just skip the first one.
Yeah, the second one is way better, but they also knew what they were doing for the second one.
Exactly. Yeah. To be fair, they got that experience down. They had a much better story, and it's actually really cool. There's a great video about it by Jaden Animations if you want to check that out. All about touching the Bidoof, which is it's its own meme from the game.
Mhm.
But yeah, if people want to get your thoughts on anything we talked about today, where can they do that? Brady.
At Symbocoil on Twitter.
At White Wing on Twitter.
Perfect. I'm at Will Be Teasing again. But if you want to catch these episodes with us, they are either on Pokemon TV or Amazon Prime as of recently. Hoopla is also a free service if you want to check that out. That has a ton of different episodes on there and a bunch of other stuff. So check it out there. Again, I've been Will.
I'm Brady.
I'm Greg.
And we will see you in Sinnoh. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Da, testing the microphone.
I like that little jingle. Can we add that?